listening to live stories on Talk Radio Wales. The people at the heart of your community telling it as it is.
I'm with Barbara down outside Jenkins Cafe in Burry Port. Barbara, we've just had a chat now about the cost of living crisis. How are you working? Are you retired?
I'm retired. Yeah. I do work a bit part-time, but yeah, as you say, regarding the pensions are not brilliant, and with all these prices going up, you know, how a pensioner supposed to survive.
I can see you've got a grandchild with you, and so are you worried for her future?
Well, definitely so. I mean, these are the future for us, and if the living's going to be as expensive as it is now, you know, how are these little ones going to survive? I think it's just pushing people into poverty. Are they going to become unwell? Going to put more pressure on the NHS, which is like a vicious circle.
And obviously, you know, if you're learning to drive now, the cost of fuel has gone up, so driving lessons are going up. And they're talking now, one of the plans was to have a doctor. You go and see the doctor if you can't cope and you pay your bills, and somehow you get assessed and the doctor decides whether or not you get help to pay your bills.
Well, that's abusing the system. I mean, you can't get an appointment to see a doctor when you're genuinely ill. So how on earth are you going to get an appointment for the doctor to get money off your fuel bills? I mean, it's just not going to happen.
So when it comes down to it, the choice between heating your home or putting food on the table, paying the bills or going into debt, what are you going to do?
Eat and just wear clothes, you know, warm coat or something around the house, and put extra bedding, and on the bed you just keep you warm, just be practically minded, but you got to eat.
We're all going to go back to Dickensian times, aren't we? Many thanks for speaking to us. Thank you.
You're listening to Talk Radio Wales, streaming live across the World Wide Web, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Great music, great stories. This is Talk Radio Wales.
What's your name, first of all?
Mrs. Megan Phillips.
Megan, we're in Burry Port here. Obviously, it's a town that's thriving, usually is tourism and so on. But are you worried about the cost of living crisis?
I am.
Why?
Very worried. Well, I'm a pensioner myself.
Yeah.
So, and there's people worse off than me again. They must be in a terrible state. You know, I mean, they don't get much as it is. But I don't know how they're going to cope. But we'll cope, you know. But I don't know what this country's gone to. Well, something's got to happen.
Do you think we're going backwards?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. See, they've sold all our gas and oil and all this. And now, look, we can't get it now from these other countries. It's awful.
The Welsh Government are going to double the numbers of MSs in the Senedd at a cost of over £100 million. Do you think that money should go elsewhere?
Well, have it then. NHS, I know they get a lot of money now, the NHS, and I expect they waste a lot of money, which is the same with everything, isn't it? You know, but it is a lot of money.
Do you think you're getting value for money for what you've paid in taxes over the years and the council tax you've paid and you know, for the services you're getting from those people who are meant to be looking after you?
No, not really. No, they don't do much. The council don't do much. No. So.
Well, Megan, many thanks. You're very honest, very brutal, but thanks for your sincerity and your honesty.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Get your business noticed with Talk Radio Wales and Wales News Online. You could be reaching tens of thousands of people every day. Ads start from £75 per month. Call today on 01554 891 114. Text 07308 598 604 or visit our website walesnewsonline.com.
Right. What's your name, first of all?
It's Maria.
Maria, we're hearing about the cost of living crisis. You just told me a little bit confused. What are you confused about?
I'm confused about it all, really, because you have mixed messages all the time from, you know, I listen to the Radio 4, you know, every morning, but there seems to be very confusing messages coming, you know.
Do you think then that, like, there's a lot of scaremongering about this, or do you think we are?
I think so, yes. I definitely think there's a bit of scaremongering. You know.
Do you think then, are you worried about your mother, you know, given her age? Are you worried about yourself, your future, and the way things are, and paying the bills, just existing and making ends meet?
Yes, well, I've only just moved back here from, I was living in Cardiff, I worked with the BBC for a long time, so I've only just moved back here, but I've worked all my life, and worked for the BBC all my life, and but I'm struggling, because pensions and everything is gone haywire, everything's gone, seems to have, and I don't know how some people cope, especially people with families and children, and, all my children are grown up and they're all working and everything, but I think people are struggling,
Well, Maria, many thanks for giving us your point of view today. Thank you.
This is Talk Radio Wales.
Right, what's your name first of all?
Elsa.
Elsa, we have the cost of living crisis. Is it fact or fiction?
It's fact.
Why?
Because you can see evidence of it in the fact that they can't afford to buy food in the shops, that even the tradesmen are putting their prices up because they've got to cover the cost of the fuel and materials.
Do you think the government's attitude is very much like the old, let them eat cake?
Which government are we talking about?
Welsh Government and the UK Government.
Well, my beef is with the UK Government, really, because they've got the purse strings at the end of the day, and they can also control the prices that the energy suppliers are charging the customers.
That's one item. Maybe people are suggesting nationalisation for the energy companies again and getting rid of the fat cats?
Absolutely. I mean, look at Welsh Water. There's no shareholders there to keep happy. And I think that was the worst thing that a Tory government ever did, was to...
Some people would say, it's very hard to persuade wealthy people or government people who, like you say, with the purse strings to help poor people. Do you think that there should be a threshold? If you fall below that threshold, that there should be intervention, that government shouldn't allow children to go to school without shoes, without food in their belly, that there should be some form of universal payment once you fall below a certain figure?
Absolutely. I think so. And the problem is that if they're going to come out with solutions, everybody gets it. And people who can well afford to subsidise other people are not being asked to do that.
What do you think about the idea they're floating that you have to go to a doctor to be assessed for whether or not you can pay your bills, or you're going to get some financial help to do that?
I think it should be a cross-section of bodies that you go and see. If you are disabled, if you're vulnerable, then yes, social services as well as a doctor. And
do you worry, it feels like almost, I'm not putting words in, but it does feel like we're almost returning to sort of Dickensian times, and people say, well, we've never had it so good, Are we having it good?
I think it's a generational thing. People my age who are retired are probably doing quite well, thank you, especially if you've got other pensions. It's the young I feel sorry for. They won't be able to afford anything, and they're talking about putting the tuition fees up in England and Wales, and that will be the nail in the coffin.
You've got a direct line now to the First Minister. What would you like to say to him?
I'd like him to actually look at what the Welsh Government can do apart from the UK Government, because the UK Government are sitting on their hands. The Welsh Government surely can put in place measures which will even things up.
This is a chance for them to shine and be different then?
Absolutely, especially if they are a Labour government, then they should be showing that they're a Labour government.
Many thanks for speaking to us today. Thank you very much.
You're listening to Talk Radio Wales, streaming live across the World Wide Web, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Great music, great stories. This is Talk Radio Wales.
Right, what's your name?
Laurie Reynolds.
Laurie, cost of living crisis, is this a fact, fiction, is this scaremongering?
Oh, I think it's a fact.
You do?
Yes.
Why?
Because, the prices have gone up in the shops, and I am one of these people, I sort of look at prices and decide that day what I'm going to buy, really. I have noticed the prices have gone up.
Do you drive as well?
No, my partner drives. No, I walk and I cycle.
To save money or just for fitness or a bit of both?
Fitness, and I'm never been a keen driver, so I believe in keeping death off the road, really. So.
Are you worried? Do you have children, grandchildren? Are you worried for a generation that's coming up?
To be honest with you, my son has done very well, and he's invested in property at a younger age. So I don't see any problem with my grandchildren, but I have a sister whose son started a little bit later, and I can never see him and his wife owning their own home, you know.
Are we to sort of get into the Margaret Thatcher, Liz Truss sort of way of life and Norman Tebbit, get on your bike, make it work, go out and earn your living and do what you can, and if you don't get to that bar, then tough luck, you just have to sink? Should there be a safety net?
There should be a safety net, you know, but looking around, I think that people should cut their suit according to their cloth.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, when people couldn't have luxuries like hair and tattoos and all this business, people, you know, they were back to basics. And I think maybe people ought to look at their expenditure and do accordingly. And those that need help should get it. And a lot of help should be means tested.
Do you think there should be one universal bar then, that if you fall below that and it's for good reason, that you're doing your best, then you should be propped up and helped so that you don't slip through that net into poverty?
Yes, I do believe that, yes.
What kind of threshold would you put on it? 12 grand a year, 20 grand a year?
Well, we're not high earners, myself and my partner. We've never been high earners. To be perfectly honest, I have got no idea what it costs to bring up a family because I had my son in the 70s. When we go out buying our bits and pieces, I do think about families and thinking, well, we've just spent that. That's just to feed two. It must be hard to feed a family and do all the outings and everything like that. So I've got no idea how much they would need, to be perfectly honest.
If you were socialist minded, if you were sort of charitable and benevolent and you had a magic wand and you could give it to Mark Drake for the First Minister of Wales and say, there we are, look, you've got one wish, what would you like him to do for Wales?
Well, I just believe that for Wales, you've just got to, listen to the people and just do the right thing, really. You know, I'm not really politically minded, so I think you've just got to investigate everything and basically get to the root of the problem and, you know, sort it out. As I say, there are people that have got money that don't need all these handouts. I know people that get helping hand for electricity and what have you, and they give it away because they don't need it, you know, so there we are. Give it to the people that need it.
Many thanks for speaking to us today. Thank you.
You're listening to Talk Radio Wales, streaming live across the World Wide Web, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Great music, great stories. This is Talk Radio Wales.
Right, what's your name?
Lee Cavender.
Lee, cost of living crisis, we've been hearing a lot of people saying this is a fact, it's not scaremongering, this is happening. Is it affecting you?
Well, I own a local taxi business here and it's affecting us massively.
Give the taxi business a plug. What's the name of it?
Harbour Taxis.
Right. So with Harbour Taxis, what are you just seeing? Less people sort of taking up your offer, having to reduce prices, fuel costs, and so on. Is that what's happening?
Well, fuel prices have gone up. Prices got to increase massively. Last year it cost 70 to 80 quid to fill a car up. This year now it's over £120 to fill a family car up. Crippling our business.
Have you had to lay anyone off as a result?
We was 4 of us. There's only 2 of us now.
You've got a sort of almost a direct line here to the First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, and let's just say Liz Truss is coming in as well, and she might listen into the podcast. What message have you got for them?
And Mark Drakeford is out of touch with a lot of things. 20 mile an hour speed limit around here, 1.5 metres to try telling him come around the country roads and try doing that around here. The guy's way out of touch with things.
Do you think their policies are sort of driven by, let's just say, sort of these people with maybe good intentions and bright ideas, but as you say, you know, if you ask the people, they would tell you these things just aren't working and there are other things you could be doing?
Try come and do our job, and again, he's just way out of touch with people, like. And I found with him, whatever Boris Johnson done, he done the opposite, just to be, in my view, him and Nicola Sturgeon.
But Burry Port, Llanelli, traditionally it's a Labour town, you know, that Labour towns, nothing's going to change there. So do you think they've just got an easy ride, an easy ticket here, then they can do what they like?
Of course they have. Especially Mark Drakeford. The man is so out of touch, way out of touch with people.
What's the option then? What would you vote next time, or wouldn't you vote?
Actually, not Labour, that's for sure.